Welcome, welcome. We are back for another episode of the Tech Behind FinTech. Today's show is really exciting. We're gonna talk about how to build a crypto exchange from the ground up. We have the CEO from NaijaCrypto to really walk us through that. So we're really excited. Let me introduce my guest. This is he's a return guest. He's like our he's like a good friend of the show, and I want to introduce him. Chiagozie Iwu is the founder and CEO of CI Cryptosolutions, a company that owns and operates the NaijaCrypto exchange and NaijaPay.io payment gateway, as well as developing blockchain solutions and consulting for other firms. He is a seasoned blockchain enthusiast and possesses ample experience formulating derivative contracts as well as portfolio structuring in both cryptocurrency and traditional markets. He has also created a cryptocurrency index called the BAR WI30, which focuses on tailoring the index of cryptocurrency market characteristics and risk. He is a certified blockchain and finance expert with core focus on the financial applications of blockchain technology. Chiagozie, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure to have you.
Always a pleasure to be here, Nnamdi.
How are you doing today?
Wow, it's been a hectic day, but it's great. Oh, it's great. The process of being Niger crypto is fun. So it's been a great day. That's all I can say.
That's also, I know right now it's the end of your day, so I know
Yeah.
you're coming direct. So this is a good way to end the day, and we're going to talk about NaijaCrypto and how it's built. You're going to give people an insight. So this is really good. And to all the viewers, thanks for tuning in. Always appreciate you. Last week we had a little bit of a delay starting, so thanks for hanging in there with us. Happy Friday. Your comments are always useful. We're gonna, as usual with the show, we're gonna talk about the news of the week, and then we're gonna get into the topic of the day, building a crypto exchange from the ground up. So you know the format of the show. So let's start with some news articles of the week. Also, guys, feel free at any point to ask questions, chat different comments. Your input is always needed. Let me cue something up on my side. Give me 1 second because I wanna post some articles on the site. So give me a second. We're working with another machine here to do just that. 1 second. Let me get everything queued up to do just that. Thought I had it queued, but I had to do something. This is the whole thing of a live show. Okay, there we go. Let me share it. Add it to the screen. Our first article of the day. Time Magazine is getting into NFTs. They just launched their NFT launch this week, and it sent gas fees spiraling. So we're going to get into that. For those that don't know, NFTs are non-fungible tokens. Let me give you some insight on the article, and then we'll jump right into it. So basically, yeah. So this week, they got into the NFT business. According to Blockchain Explorer, let's get some stuff. It was, yeah, essentially from reading this, yeah. So they got into the NFT business. It was a huge flood and gas prices. So every time you go and do some transactions over the blockchain, Ethereum, you have to pay for gas prices. And when everything is flooded, those gas prices tend to go high, and that's what happened this week. I just want to kind of read a quote from this article, and we're gonna jump into Chiagozie's opinion on what is going on. Yeah, according to Blockchain Explorer, the Ether scan of 100 addresses with the most NFTs now around. Yeah, so they're basically saying that 24% of the total supply on Etherscan, and I'm going to post the article, went to like 100 addresses with the most, like basically high volume users on about 24% of the supply. Each And yeah, at publication, the lowest listed price for the timepiece was hovering around Ethereum, around 9,500. Grossman, the CEO, explained that his decision to cap the number of NFTs per address was part of an effort to deter bots. So essentially, one address only could buy a certain amount of the NFTs that they listed. But if a single buyer had multiple wallets, they can then use it in that fashion. Chiagozie, please jump in. Let me know your thoughts on this particular article.
Okay, yeah. So basically NFTs is in fact in the crypto world where now everybody's now all about NFTs, right? And all that. So of course it's not a surprise that when a company like Time, who is a reputable company, launches NFTs, it's gonna blow up, right? So yes, it's been driving gas fees crazy, right? In fact, while you were saying this, I just opened my analytical because we have to be keeping an eye on the gas fees as part of our risk management for the exchange. So I just looked at the launch time, right, and compared it with there was like a spike of up to 400 GWEI, that's the 400Y, which is in gas fees, which at that point was about $26 per transaction. So yes, it floods the Ethereum network, and it's one thing that is very crazy about Ethereum. When a particular project is gaining a lot of attention, it floods the whole Ethereum network, and gas fees go crazy. I think they've seen gas fees at least even up to $80 in Ethereum and all that. So yes, of course, it shows that a lot of people are interested in NFTs in NFTs, right? A lot of artists love media. How a lot of people are becoming a lot of the people that have appreciation for the arts, right? They are going the NFT route, and it shows a lot when the Ethereum network crashes. But it also says something about Ethereum scalability. Maybe that we'll talk about that in the technology session, but it's really questions Ethereum scalability issues, but it's all good.
Yeah, no, and what's interesting about this particular article was you don't know what you're purchasing. So I think when you initially buy it, you get mapped to like a red time logo, but then later on you'll know the exact NFT that you brought in. And folks, in terms of the NFT, it's unique. So everybody will get a unique a picture. So that's of one of the cover magazines that they're going to make an NFT. So it's available on the OpenSea marketplace. Just found that article very interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
Anybody, and also please jump in if you want to chime in with any questions, any thoughts around that. Feel free. The next article on that same, and I mean the whole world is talking about NFTs right now. That's like the biggest. That's the biggest thing talk right now in the crypto world, NFTs. So on that note, right, there is a company called, what is it called, Bali Heroes, and they're going to start bringing Bollywood to the blockchain with a massive public NFT launch. So basically, it's I know Bollywood is huge. It's outside of Hollywood, it might be one of the biggest entertainment industries. And what they're basically doing is they're creating a whole metaverse around NFTs. They're calling them like Bali Heroes.
Hero.
Yeah, it's one of the large scale projects that is building a parallel Bali verse, starting with carefully curated 250 legend NFTs and 10,000 programmatically generated hero NFTs. So at the launch date for them, when it's gonna go up for sale, some of these NFTs, September 30th. So that's a very interesting. What I'm gonna do also, let me put I'm gonna paste some of these links in the comments. Paste some of those links in the comments. Sorry, if you're on LinkedIn, you're not gonna get the link. I have to post it afterwards, but we're streaming on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. You guys will get comments there, and on LinkedIn, I have to circle back after the show. And here is the Bollywood. So I was reading this article. You know what I was thinking about? Like Nollywood, right? Like it would be
Yeah.
interesting if something similar. Everything is so new. It's like even though NFTs have been around for a while, it's really been taken off this year. So that is probably something that can be done. I want to also say something. So they say that these NFTs are not the only thing in development. Bali Heroes also aims to create a parallel Bollywood entirely on the blockchain, a virtual film city, starting with products like Bali Comics in November, followed by a Bali decentralized autonomous organization, and Bali Games with Polygon Studios. So they're really trying to, expand this whole thing in like a virtual world. So I'm fascinated to see where that's going to go. Let me paste that article. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so when a lot of people look at NFTs, right? Of course, there is aspects that is questionable at times, right? But a lot of people do not realize this, right? That beyond just the glamour, the glitz and glamour of the NFTs are solving a very fundamental problem, right? So yes, in this particular situation, yes, but using Bollywood movies, creating NFTs around Bollywood movies, in a place like Nigeria, like in a place like Nollywood, right? One of the biggest problems Nollywood has is piracy, right? Whereby you have a situation whereby people's movies are dubbed like over and over again, right? And this just does not happen. It happens also with Hollywood and Bollywood movies in Nigeria, also including Nollywood movies in Nigeria. And Nollywood is in terms of viewership, right? Nollywood has more views than Bollywood, actually, the second largest in the world, right? But it generates less revenue than Bollywood because of this this problem, right? So the NFT marketplace can do a solution in this, that it protects the intellectual property properly, in the sense that if I want to watch this movie, right, there has to be some blockchain linked access for me, right? Of course, it could be a user friendly front end and all that, right? But I cannot dub it. The movie is on the blockchain. So a lot of people are working on the technology similar to this. And I believe this is what these guys are trying to work on, right? Like this NFTs behind this movie, like it could not be sort of like infringed upon. Yes, right now it's just normal NFTs against existing artwork and existing movies that are there. But when you have stuff created solely on the blockchain, it's taking a whole other level for
That's interesting.
intellectual property. Yeah, a whole
Um,
other level. Yeah.
yeah, like until reading this article and talking to you, I didn't envision like mo- movies. Like music, you see that, but the whole idea
Yeah.
of movies on the blockchain. I mean, very interesting. Like now, I'm curious to even dive in deeper and see what's being done there and what development. Because like it literally feels sometimes when I'm in this mode and all this information is coming, it feels like the dot-com era in like the late 90s. And you want to catch, you just don't sometimes know where to start. It's a lot of information coming in. You're constantly researching. For me, I'm on the technology and security side. So
Yeah.
you're in there, then you're getting more. So you're looking at the technical stuff on one aspect, but then it's a whole other like use cases popping off, and you're just trying to get acclimated. And when I read this article, I was like, wow, it's kind of fascinating. Like that's really interesting what they're doing. Like, I didn't see that use case coming. So and now what you just said is going to be something, definitely play that back from a video span. Like, let me look further into this and see how can it impact piracy, especially when it's because um, just to let you know, right? So in America, the Nigerian community, I know when I was younger, even the amount of the movies, man, the Nigerian movies, everybody in the family, and they're constantly talking. My mom, this constant, it's like so many Nigerian movies, and then what started to happen, it started there, but then now people outside of the community from other communities
Yeah.
are talking about Nigerian movies.
Ninja movies, of course.
So from an intellectual property standpoint, what you're saying makes sense. I mean, so
Yeah.
it's something that I'm gonna actually like actually look into following this show, the many other things that I'm researching. All right, let's get into the last article because we're gonna need some time, guys. We're gonna have a real deep discussion on the topic of the day, and we can, when I get with my guy right here, we can just start going off on a whole nother tangent and then take up time for the show. But I want to get to the topic of hand. Last article, JP Morgan Chase is buying college financial aid platform Frank to deepen ties with the students. So Frank basically is a site. It posts about 5 million users, and it was really to help students through the financial aid process. And the strategy with this acquisition from a financial standpoint is they want to build long-term deep relationships with current and future customers. I think it's a very interesting move. It was Frank was founded in 2017 by 24-year-old at the time, Charlie Javis, and it currently serves more than 5 million students at over 6,000 higher education institutions across the U.S. So let me get a direct quote. Yeah, so a direct quote from JPM: "We really have a desire to have lifelong engaged relationship with all of our customers, and Charlie and her team have built an amazing connection to the student population." So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I just always love posting like startup win stories, man. It's amazing to me.
Yeah, these are actually an amazing one. Yes, I also love a lot of startup win stories, right? And you see, when you look at like I love the US startup infrastructure, the ecosystem, right? I think when I look at the startup ecosystem, I think when you look at the US, like is the like if you compare it to like let's say the British startup ecosystem, right? The British startup ecosystem is a bit on the dull side, right? Like if you use the US, man, it's crazy. The big banks in the US, they are all about, especially JP Morgan, right? They are all about buying up these fintechs, right? And you know what? This is funny, right? If you listen to Jimmy Dimon talk, right? It's almost like sometimes he dismisses some fintechs. Right? If you listen like Jimmy Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, right? It's almost like he dismisses some fintechs. And you will see he's acquiring something similar to what was dismissed a month ago. So it's like
The same thing with Bitcoin. The same thing. I mean, they'll dismiss it now, and then later on they're doing something to expand. I just
it's adapt or die. You understand?
yeah, that's the bottom line. Adapt or die.
JP Morgan and the big banks, and it's something that a lot of Nigerian banks, I think, and in fact, a lot of banks in other parts of the world need to take a cue at, right? One of the reasons these banks, everybody has a business model, right? But one of the reasons these banks have survived for decades, right? Apart from the other part, right? Apart from the other part of surviving, having the political influence and things like that, right? One of the reasons these banks have survived for decades is because they adapt very quickly to changing financial situations, right? If you look at if you look at the era of from how where banking moved from the normal paper banking to digital space, and see the way they adapt, the way they acquire companies operated in these particular spaces, right? So when a fintech comes and they have better technology than the banks acquire.
Yeah.
You understand? So JP Morgan has been in this for a while. In fact, they've been on the game of acquiring fintechs a lot this period. And yeah, this is a cool one. This is a cool one. This is a win for the founders of Frank. Kudos. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, for sure. So that now it is time to really jump into our topic of the day. Chiagozie, I'm gonna let you lead it. So I'm gonna start asking. So the main thing, NaijaCrypto. Um, you're building a crypto. So let's get into first of all, so we could level set. What's a crypto exchange?
Okay, so basically, in that simple sense, right? A crypto, in the simplest definition you can give, a crypto exchange is a place where you can change cryptocurrencies for another cryptocurrency, or even or even fiat money, right? Or even other traditional assets, right? So that's just it, right? It's a place where I can change my cryptocurrency for another cryptocurrency, or I have some Bitcoin, I need some Tether, I need some USD, I need some Nigerian Naira, I need some Kenyan shillings, right? I can just easily get my Bitcoin on the crypto exchange and I get what I want, right? So that's just it. So it's like an exchange for digital assets, basically. Yeah.
So that's okay. So we have that definition. Now, for the audience, we're just going to go basics before we start diving in. There are two types of crypto exchanges, and I'm going to let Chiagozie go. First is a centralized cryptocurrency exchange, and second type is a decentralized cryptocurrency exchange. Please, can you explain the difference?
Okay, so basically, let me start with the centralized cryptocurrency section. So, a centralized cryptocurrency exchange is like it's basically okay. I want to change my Bitcoin, right? So I come to a centralized exchange. Of course, in many centralized exchanges, you're not even trading against you're not even trading against the exchange. You're trading against counterparties, right? In the peer-to-peer model, right? So I have my Bitcoin, I change it to Tether, but the framework of the exchange works in such a way that your orders, right, the order book, everything is controlled by a centralized authority, and approvals are done by a centralized authority, which is the exchange itself, right? So there is no delineated, like there is no like it's not decentralized. It's not spread across so many individuals. It's that central party, the exchange, that guarantees the transaction between you and between person A and person B, or between institution A and institution B, right? But in the case of decentralized exchanges, right, the approvals are decentralized. Like there is no central control of those exchanges. So I want to buy Bitcoin now on the decentralized exchange, right? Wrapped Bitcoin, as is the case in many decentralized exchanges, right? So let's say I provide liquidity in form of a tariff, right? Usually in decentralized exchanges, buy and sell, they use the term provide liquidity and take liquidity. So I provide liquidity in terms of a tariff and I get Bitcoin. So I'm contributing to an order pool on the decentralized exchange. There is no central party needed to validate my transaction or approve my transaction. If I want to take money out of the exchange, there is no central party taking the cryptocurrency from wallet A to wallet B. Everything is totally decentralized, and that is why on decentralized cryptocurrency exchanges, you link your wallets directly to the exchange, right? Because it's kind of like as I say, there is no on a centralized. They give you a deposit wallet. It enters the exchange deposit pool, right? On a decentralized, you're trading directly what is in your wallet, so you still have control of the funds on those dexes. So decentralized exchange trust is not really needed for the party. The party does not have to be a strong party. In a centralized exchange, when the central party is weak, there is usually a problem with the exchange side. That is it.
So just so like to the audience can get an understanding, right? Another examples of centralized exchanges are stuff that we've heard of and we know, right? We heard of Coinbase, we heard of Binance, you heard of things like Kraken and some people like maybe Bitfinex or Bittrex. So those are the ones, and also understand, I think they had a stat: 99% of exchanges are centralized, or I think that was the stat or something like that. So we can understand the majority of exchanges that you come to work with and know of, they are centralized exchanges. And what we're going to be talking about is centralized. Now, with the decentralized, to add on to what Chiagozie said, it's wallet, but also it's more of in addition to, it's controlled by smart contracts, and it's a decentralized autonomous organization. So there's not a particular owner. Like we're not going to go to I don't think the CEO of a
Yeah.
decentralized. It's run automatically through smart contracts and built. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is the perfect pitch perfect definition that I think I was looking for. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. So once you just give that to the audience, because there's some people of our viewers who all these things are just new to them,
Yeah.
totally new to them. So I know sometimes when we go in, they're like, we've been talking about it in the industry. So just to let everyone know, please ask your questions. If anything's confusing to you, if you need more clarity, please post up in the chat. We will see it and we will do our best to answer it. Now, NaijaCrypto, of those two, NaijaCrypto is a centralized exchange. So the topic of the day, how did you go about building it? What was the process?
Okay, so I need to give a little bit of history to understand the
Please.
thought process, right? So, okay, so basically, before we built NaijaCrypto, right? So I and my partner, we started NaijaCrypto, we were what they call the OTC traders, over-the-counter traders, right? So, where somebody wants some Bitcoin and maybe I have some Nigerian naira, right? So I buy it from them. We talk on the WhatsApp, phone, Telegram. We communicate like unofficially, right? So in that process, a lot of stuff goes on, right? There is a very good chance you could get scammed, right? So that informal like structure, like in fact, let me break it out of blue. Like the Binances of this world, as then as when we're starting NaijaCrypto, Binance, the big exchanges, Coinbase, none were offering Nigerian naira, right? In fact, Binance were the only ones to eventually offer it, but they no longer do currently, right? So nobody was offering the Nigerian naira exchange. So yes, you could change crypto to crypto on Binance. You could change crypto to crypto on Coinbase, right? On Bittrex, right? But you could not get your fiat, right? To get your fiat money, right? The money that you can spend, you needed to look for somebody, you understand, informally, like call them or go to all the hookup sites for crypto trading, like local Bitcoins and the rest, which there were so many scams going on, right? There was so much mistrust, right? And people were losing their coins a lot, right? So
Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there.
right,
So I
right,
wanted to build. So there is a situation now where you basically have to meet someone if you want the actual cash. You know, I think sometimes I can speak for myself, I can speak for others. In the US, we just take certain things for granted, right? So
yeah,
you have an exchange, you know, it's like, yeah, why wouldn't they give me my USD and give me the money, right? But now
exactly,
you have a situation where the currency in Nigeria that's called Naira, for instance, and now you can't get Naira in the exchange. You might have the crypto, right? But you
yeah,
can't get the. So let me ask you a question then. How how is that at that time prior to NaijaCrypto, when you look back,
right.
how were people actually getting crypto? Because when I started to get it, it was like, you go to an exchange, you put your money, the bank thing. How was it working prior?
Okay, so as I said, it's basically the informal market, right? Like, of
Mm,
course, you had a few websites that were also doing it, but these were not like proper exchanges. There were websites that where people advertised, "Oh, I'm buying Bitcoin, I'm buying
uh,
USDT." You understand? So there was still no proper trust pattern. Like you're not trading against other users; you're trading against the exchange, right? So those were the few ways. I remember buying my first Bitcoin, right? A long time ago, pre 2013, 2012, 2011, right? From a
love it.
from someone called E-Trade Exchange, right? They are the
Yeah.
first guy I ever bought Bitcoin from, right? So shout out to him. I don't know him, right? But it was a very informal trade, right? Like we just he's advertised on his website. He's buying Bitcoin. He's buying. Then you can change the things like on PayPal, the digital currencies, right? So he was Bitcoin was one of them. So like I bought my first Bitcoin from him, right? And since then, like there really has been no proper infrastructure for Bitcoin exchange to the Nigerian naira in Nigeria, right? So over time, some like, I call them like OTC exchanges. What do I mean? Like OTC exchange, like apps that just offer okay, just Bitcoin to Nigerian naira, but there was still a bit of mistrust towards these apps, although some of them have gained a lot of momentum right now. But before then, a lot of them. So we were like, oh god, there was no proper infrastructure. The few that were existing were not things that we would use personally, right? We're not stuff that like, okay, we like nobody. There was no competition, so nobody was motivated. By the way, right now Nigeria has, apart from NaijaCrypto, we have a lot of amazing exchanges, right?
Okay.
But
So,
yeah,
so what year is this all happening?
this is 2019.
Okay.
There was no proper competition, right?
That's like
The
literally 2 years ago.
Yes, you had like exchanges that came in did exit scams, right? And foreign exchanges. In many cases, foreign exchanges came in, did an exit scam. There was a Dubai-based exchange came did an exit scam. Like you had this things come like Claymore we're doing this for Nigerian naira, and they gather millions of dollars worth of crypto assets, and they're nowhere to be seen. So there was no proper registered exchange, right? So
Wow.
what we did is we decided to go the very cool route. We registered ourselves properly, right? We even although it became invalid when the CBN did what it did in Nigeria, right? But with the SEC, we registered with the SEC, right? Prior to, because what they had then was like a short form, right? Give us your information about your exchange operations, your API, and when licenses come out, we'll issue your licenses, right? So they were still trying to issue the licenses, but before the central bank did a parallel regulation. We'll come to that, right?
Yeah.
So we did the registrations, we registered as a business, we registered like, and we had like centralized offices where people could see, okay, these guys have a face to them, right? Which is very, very rare in the Nigerian crypto space, right? You could
Mm.
see these were the faces behind us. These were the faces. We were in the media. We were in, like, you could see us basically, right? We're not hiding ourselves, right? So you knew who you were trading with, right? You knew Chiagozie Iwu was in charge of this company. You knew Shadrach also was the CTO of this company. You knew other Victoria was the operational head of this company. You knew who was doing everything within the company, so you knew where your money is going to. It was going to a bank account that was registered by the company, so you don't know where your money is going to. So that's what we
So that
did. So
visibility built the trust.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. In fact, when we started, we did not have automation. Right, a lot of things were manual. Like the website, the exchange was running right, but deposits withdrawals were very manual. A lot of things were manual, right? So yes, we had to just start from there, give the trust to the users, right? And gradually, sincerely, we started with less than 30 grand, right? 30 grand USD, right? And it was all about, we just hired a tech team. 90% of our developers are from India. We have developers from Nigeria. Our operational team is mostly Nigeria, customer care Nigeria. So we built this particular ecosystem, right, of very good developers, some of which have worked with in the past, and so we got the exchange up and running, right? And as at 1st April 2019, we launched operations, right, in a very skeletal way. Like once people see NaijaCrypto the way we are today, they wonder, like, is this how it has always been? No, we did not buy any white label. Yeah, they said, who did you buy this white label from? No, we did not get white label from Binance, or we did not get a white label from. We built from our exchange from the scratch.
So it's a
If
couple
you
of
know what I mean.
things to mention to everyone. So I want to kind of like this. This is a very interesting story. Like, so first, Chigozie mentioned that it wasn't the day one wasn't 100%.
Yeah,
Two, although they had the client facing application, a lot of stuff behind the scenes was still done manual. They were not at the automation point that they were done there. We're going to get into some of those manual processes. Three, he mentioned something called white label. So this is common in fintech startups and also in crypto currency exchanges and startups. One of the options when you have this idea and you're trying to build something is to basically buy a pre-packaged solution and then you add your own branding on top of it. So when he mentioned white labeling, that's what he was talking about. I just want to be clear because not some people might not be as in that space or understand it. So I just want to add that level of clarity. So this isn't a look. I'm a fan of the startup. I'm a fan of the technology. I love this story. This is awesome. Let's keep going. At times, I'm going to break it up just because I want to
yeah.
make sure
No,
that the
it's needed. It's needed.
clearly
I get lost. And,
again, he understands and follows the chain. Okay,
yeah.
please proceed. And
Okay,
mind you,
so
this is only since 2019, and then
yeah.
COVID happened, right? So it's like
Oh,
this. And the
COVID.
CBN shut things down with no. What did they say? What was the thing we talked about it before? There was
Yeah,
no you can't put cryptocurrencies in your bank account. So you had it was a lot of stuff going on. So
yeah,
so 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 no white labeling. You had disparate development team across Nigeria and India. But the business end was contained in Nigeria from the business management standpoint.
yeah.
Okay, what are some key stuff that we talked? Okay, so I think we're on a good track here. Can you get into the manual stuff that was needed? So you mean you registered the exchange? Like how did you set it up so the first customer or the first user can actually leverage it? Because previously you had to, they had to do with these back alley exchanges to get crypto. Now NaijaCrypto's here. They see your face, they see the branding, they see, okay, these guys are not going to do an exit scam, get all the money in the crypto exchange and then disappear. How did that first transaction work, and what was needed to set that up? Like what were the components there?
Okay, so as I said, like the first transaction was pretty manual, right? So the exchanges is sure. was built, right? The order book matching engine was built, right? Although not scaled to the way it is today, but the order book matching engine was built, right? And so for the first transaction, all one needed to do was, okay, get in your NGN, which is Nigerian Naira, right? You wanted to buy crypto, right? So get in. And how we did that was you send us Nigerian Naira to our bank account, and we credit you with the equivalent, of course, minus our fees. We credit you with the equivalent in the exchange, right? And someone else deposited cryptocurrency into the exchange, right?
Mhm.
Now for the Nigerian Naira deposit, it was manual, right? Eventually we integrated bank APIs, but that first set of time we had to manually, oh, this person deposited, we check the deposit, we check the transaction ID, and then credit him on NaijaCrypto, right? So if it,
Okay.
you understand, like 20,000 naira in our bank account, we then credit them 20,000 naira on NaijaCrypto. Then somebody else
So they'll
deposits.
so they would get an account number, physically take their check or money to a bank, and make a
Exactly.
deposit into the
Or
NaijaCrypto account.
exactly. Or even do a bank transfer to the NaijaCrypto account, right?
Okay, do a wire transaction to the
Transfer.
NaijaCrypto account. Then
Exactly.
you would get their wire information in their details, and that's how you credit. So they'll first have to register as a user, and then you'll get the wire details and credit the account. Wow.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah,
So
you mentioned the order book technology was there. Is that what you said?
yes,
Just to
yes. So the
clarify.
order book, the order book matching engine is very vital because that is what we did differently from a lot of people.
Yeah.
You understand the order book matching system, right? So a lot of people just build like the app, which believe me, it works. I'm not saying that that business model does not work, right? But like it has its limitations. Like you can, it has its limitations. There's a level you can take a normal just buying against somebody, like creating a very simple app, and you publish, I want to buy, you sell, and it's gone, right? The order book matching engine gives you scale. When you have thousands of people buying, you have thousands of people selling, right? You need it. Believe me, you need it, right? Because you do not have to handle the transaction. So all we have to do now as a centralized exchange is we make sure that we accept the Nigerian Naira deposits, right? We provide wallets for people to deposit their cryptocurrency, let's say Bitcoin, right? And the person that wants to sell the Bitcoin says, okay, I want to sell my Bitcoin, right? I want to sell zero point 0.1 Bitcoin for 2 million Naira per Bitcoin. And somebody also puts their orders. I want to buy Bitcoin for, let's say, 1.9 million Naira for per Bitcoin. Someone comes, takes the person's order. Yes, I buy it if the price is suitable to them, right? And you have this. Of course, at times the exchange has to make sure there is liquidity, right? But it's still mostly the users. In fact, during our first stages, right, we had like extended. What we did was we got the informal guys. The guys are selling the informal markets, right? All right, so people are scamming you. You send them Bitcoin, you do not send you Naira. You know me, you know our exchange, it was registered, you know where to hold us, you know where we can be sued, right? So deposit your cryptocurrency in NaijaCrypto. Those guys that want to buy, if we really want to buy, we handle the Nigerian Naira and the two can trade like in minutes. You
So so
understand?
So you basically leverage these people as your early adopters because
Exactly.
they're the users really on the cutting edge. They're doing it already. These are not people that you have to go out and like try to it's not really about customer acquisition at this point. Like these guys, the early adopters, they're currently using it. They currently need it, and you're giving them a better solution that's safer, less risk, and different things of that nature. Um,
Exactly.
and I might ask you certain questions, and I also have my I'm interviewing you, but then I have my security hat on. So anything that you can't get into, I totally understand because I want to really get into like the technology stack, but then I know certain things we can't disclose because then
Of course.
if I'm a threat actor and I have some information, I could use that negatively against your.
Of
But
course.
overall, can you get into some high level the tech stack that you some of the technology aspects of you leverage?
Okay,
Like
so
like a cloud? Was it like was it a public cloud like an AWS? Was it you know
no,
different
no,
things
no.
of that nature?
Okay, so what we did was an initial stage, although we still use an element of that, but a very more scaled solution, right? So we use a very simple server, right? In all this, remember, we were not holding anybody's cryptocurrencies on the exchange. Because personally, I believe you do not you storing cryptocurrencies on the cloud is very, very dangerous. Right? It is very, very dangerous storing cryptocurrencies on a very simple server. Right? Please, anybody that is watching this, please never do that in your lifetime. Store, especially if you're a custodian, right? Store people's cryptocurrencies on a simple server. What we did was we used the technology whereby we routed when someone makes a deposit, it's routed to our hard wallet, right? So they were the receiving wallets, right? But it routes immediately to our external wallets. So eventually we used the third party solution for custody, but that was how we started. So it was hard wallets, offline wallets, everything was stored on offline wallets, right? And we never like stored. So we were using a very simple server solution, right? Because as I said then we had less than 1,000 users, right? Let's say to about 1,000 something users when we launched the first month we launched, right? So we were using a very simple server solution. We didn't need an elaborate server as at that point. We didn't even have an app. We didn't have an app, right? So we just used the website. The front end was built with Laravel framework, and like we made it as simple as possible, right? And when you're building with Nigeria, like some parts of Africa in mind, you have to consider, right? A lot of people are trying to have data utility. For example, like in the US now, internet is very free, right? I lived in Cyprus at some point in my life. I spend more on the internet in Nigeria than I did there, right? So you have unlimited data, like unlimited internet. So most Nigerians use a capped data system, right? So you needed to set, okay, now these minor users, of course, it's not everybody, it's not all your users that were. Sometimes having 1,000 users depositing $10 is better than having one user depositing $100,000, right? $1 million, right? So you had the simple users, so you needed to make the site as less data consuming as possible, right? So we use very simple frameworks. We use the Laravel. We made sure the other book matching was not preloaded, right? And basically the database was very the number of database is simple, and we made sure nothing was stored on the cloud. Our server we use a voucher. We use a very simple solution, which was scaled with time as we got more users, as we built in more technologies, as we built in more crypto. But initially it was just Bitcoin, Litecoin, and XRP. Sorry, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and XRP. They were the only cryptocurrencies traded on the exchange at that point.
So a few things with that, right? So we have like a real straightforward like server database backend architecture. You have this technology for your order matching system. Your so and a couple of things that Chiagozie mentioned. Now he has so in the cloud when you store your crypto, that's considered a hot wallet, right? Because it's virtual, it's in the cloud. They moved their crypto to a cold wallet, like he said, offline. So that was their strategy. So that even though a lot of stuff initially in the beginning was manual, they prevented any types of breaches. And literally, that's what they say. I mean, the best way to not break it into a computer is to lock it up in something waterproof and throw it in the bottom of the ocean. No one's gonna lock it. No one's gonna get to it. Like you're
Yeah,
done. So basically, that's the same concept. You took it offline. No, interesting stuff, man. This
yeah.
is actually a startup win story in its own right, man. I love this story. How, please.
Like a lot of exchanges. So we were very careful with that because a lot of exchanges didn't last 2 months because of that, right? They're automating the cryptocurrency systems. Meanwhile, they do not have the right security framework at that point. Cybersecurity is expensive. Let's get it out there, right? Cybersecurity is expensive, but it becomes even more expensive when you ignore cybersecurity. Let me just say that,
Say it
right?
loud for people not listening.
It becomes
It's
even.
literally this is like so we talk about cyber. It's literally like
Yeah,
a price chart, right? And it says
yeah,
the earlier you start thinking about it, the cheaper it
exactly.
is. The later
Exactly.
on in your software development lifecycle you start to add it, the more expensive it is.
So,
So, and in thinking about it, I'm just going to add in my 2 cents from it. One of the concepts is as you're building these things is to threat model. So the benefits from that is as part of your backlog and things that you have to build, you can add certain cybersecurity and certain requirements that can also reduce your technical debt long term. That's a whole other. I'm putting my technology point now. The
No,
interview, but just to had to chime in on that. Absolutely correct. Thanks for bringing that up. But it seemed like you took very safe, low tech precautions because of cyber. Just like, look, guys, we're just not going to keep, instead of having a solution. Okay, let's think of we have it in the cloud. All right, let's think of ways that we can harden our cloud environment. Let's, certain types of, firewalls. We have certain types of, looking at our log constantly. We have watchers on, all these different things. You're like, you know what? Let's just take it offline. I'm not thinking, okay, what are the different ways I have to harden this cloud environment or whatever environment? So that's what's going through my head. And then, usually we would use some sort of, you go through a framework, and then you follow the necessary guidelines, and you harden it, you set automated things up. And that's, but he's like, you know what? That's cool, but how about we just take it offline? It's just forget it. I love it.
Yeah, of course. So what we did is we had hard wallets, and we did sort of like a multi-signatory model on those hard wallets, right? So in that situation, like it's made the process a bit manual, right? Not a bit manual, it was so manual at that point.
Multi-sig.
Okay, so let me give the breakdown. So as at that point, right, when somebody deposits, let's say you deposit 1 Bitcoin, right? So your deposit wallet on NaijaCrypto receives the 1 Bitcoin, and immediately, like, it does not stay on the wallet, immediately sends it out to the hard wallet, which is the offline wallet, right? So if a withdrawal wants to be done, we then have to send it to the hard wallet from the hard wallet to the user, right? So sometimes what we do is that we do like sort of a 90-10 chunk, right? So we leave 10% in hot wallets and then transfer from hot wallets, right? But majority will still be, but at most points we were doing 100-0, right? 100-0 because the exchange was sell side biased. You had more people depositing the Bitcoin and storing it on the exchange for a long time, and selling from that. So you had fewer cryptocurrency withdrawals and more Naira withdrawals because people needed that fiat. If you know what I mean.
When you first started off, what was the turnaround time if I wanted to withdraw? How long would that process take, given that you have the crypto in hard wallet? What was the turnaround time for that?
During the business hours, it was like 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah, during the business hours, right? Outside of business hours, by business hours, I mean including Saturday and Sunday, right? So outside of business hours, it could take up to 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad, but it was the operational cost was not on the low side also. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was okay, right? Sometimes it could take up to an hour, like when we have a backlog of these withdrawals, so it could take a lot of time, and especially when we introduced XRP in the exchange, and things took a lot of time.
So me saying, let me put into context why I said it's not that bad.
Yeah.
You go from back alley exchanges, and now it's like, okay, it's gonna take me an hour. That's what I meant. I mean, right now we're so used to speed with certain things. We're just spoiled by speed. Everything has to be fast. So me saying not that bad, I just meant from how it was prior to what you built. So in terms of like, were you the first exchange in Nigeria?
No, not exactly, right? So
Okay.
we had a couple of other exchanges, although not using the business model we were using at that point, right?
Okay.
So we
Okay.
were not exactly the first exchange, right? There, but let me tell you, like a lot of exchanges in Nigeria, like a lot of the initial exchanges in Nigeria went bankrupt after 3 months
Wow.
because of hacks.
Oh yeah. I mean,
After 3 months, they went belly up because of hacks, right? And still going to the cybersecurity aspect, right? And that is why we use the business model that we use and made sure that cryptocurrencies will start offline. You understand? So
yeah.
whatever you're trading,
So one. So
sorry,
the earlier exchanges, to clarify, they leveraged more so hot wallets,
exactly,
stored
exactly,
online, and then they were compromised, and
exactly.
obviously that was catastrophic to them. I don't even know they at that. I mean, at that time, did they even have insurance, or did the users just lose their
No,
money?
no, the lost users lost their money. That was the point. So right now we do not use 100% hot wallets. We use what they call custodial companies, right? Of
Yeah.
course, the most popular in the US is BitGo, and we use it as custodial companies to automate the process. Now, these custodials, 90% of funds are usually insured.
Got
90 to
it.
95% of funds. So that is how all the funds in NaijaCrypto are currently insured. So you kind of like sort of you do what you can do, you outsource to third parties that have gotten that system right. So cryptocurrency exchange, everything's all about specialization, right? Make sure you have the company that is specialized in this. Okay, these guys are specialized in crypto custodial, they have the insurance, they have this, liars to this, right? And it's not just in crypto, it's everything in tech, right? In any fintech company or any website, you will can see technology from 8 different companies. This company is doing the KYC, this company is doing the matching API, this company is doing, like, understand? So
Yeah.
we like took advantage of the B2B side of things eventually as time went on, and we started getting, at the time we were getting like so many deposits, like, oh my god, it was not easy to handle on the manual side, right? So there was a time we had to scale up, and automate a lot of things, right? Even though recently, because of the central bank rules, right, we don't have bank APIs yet, but we still have ways of depositing naira via automated P2P systems. You
And I know,
understand? So
yeah, and I know that that's like a big thing in the UK. They have like an open banking framework in which banks are. It was like a regulatory initiative. I mean, we talked about it in a prior show. But essentially, the banks there have to open up their API, and it's basically bringing up. It's helping the fintech ecosystem because now the whole idea is users can control their data and control different
yes,
things. So now a lot of fintechs have spawned up to really take advantage of that and show users their data and just various different services, but you have access to it.
yeah,
That's what's happening in the UK. I mean, you can see something. The US moving towards that direction I can see. Eventually different banks around the world definitely doing that. Listen, the story is very, very interesting. I mean, there's so many. I'm surprised we don't have people chiming in with different questions because personally find this fascinating. Audience usually chimes
yeah.
in. I just want to make sure I didn't miss a comment. But the one good thing about these types of videos I love is like someone may watch it a year from now, be like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, can you disclose now in terms of the amount, how much your exchange right now has built up in terms of the finances passing through it? Is that something that you could disclose?
Sir, come again? I didn't get that question properly.
Can you disclose like the in terms of NaijaCrypto from where it was to where it is now? How much is being passed through to your exchange at this
Okay,
point?
okay.
If
So
you can't disclose it, it's
no, no, no,
fine.
no.
Yeah.
This is information that you can find by calling our API. So it's not actually hidden information, right?
Okay.
So
Cool.
in the first 2 to 3 months, right? doing less than $100,000 worth of transactions,
in the
right?
first 2 months.
Yeah, in the first three in the per month in the first 3 months, we were doing less than $100,000 worth of transactions. Um, as time went on, we are doing about a million, and which, believe me, in the cryptocurrency exchange space is not enough. As I said, then we're
Yeah.
doing about a million. We're doing about a million a month. But we really took off November 2019, right? We really took off November 2019, where we were now doing between, let's say, between 10 to $50 million worth of transactions, right? This both crypto to crypto, fiat to crypto, um, even fiat to fiat, like in terms of fiat to stable coins, rather. I think that's the perfect listing. So we were doing less than $40 million worth of transaction, up to 10 to $40 million, if I remember very well. But we went crazy during the COVID era, during the pandemic, right? We did,
Everything went crazy during that era. In terms of anything digital
yeah,
and online and crypto went crazy during the
yeah.
COVID.
Well, the truth is, we've not achieved the volumes we did then since then, right? So we did up to 60 to 80 $80 million, right? At the point it was, yeah, about $80 million. That was at the height of it, right? So these was the volumes that was passing through the exchange, mostly on the because there was still the OTC desk and then there was still the retail exchange, right? So the OTC desk had the majority of the volumes, and you had the retail exchange also conducting a lot of volumes also. So basically, that was the now we're doing about 10 to 40 a month, right? So which is decent for the Nigerian space, right? And
Oh yeah, so,
yeah,
yeah,
internationally, it's child's play, right? Like when you see Binance doing hundreds of millions a day,
look,
it seems
look,
like child's play, right? But
wait, I'm looking at it like this.
yeah,
Started in 2019,
yes,
and you started in Nigeria. You self-funded. It sounds like, right? You built it from the ground up, dude. That I mean, yes, but you look at Binance, Coinbase, they have VCs backing them. Millions were poured in,
yeah,
expanded
of
like
course,
crazy. I mean, and not we could take our hat off to what was done. I mean, obviously phenomenal work, especially when Coinbase went public. But they had millions behind them to do that. It still takes a lot of work because it's not all startups with that are funded make it. You said
yes,
earlier you started with 30K. So let's just put it in perspective to why that's still a huge win, man. So totally respectable. Totally. So
yeah,
no, let's keep that in
yeah.
perspective.
It's a cool one for that. So initially, right, when we were still smaller, right, we had very few competition in the exchange space, right. So we could price at a very high rate. We were pricing at 0.5% fees per transaction. Now we're pricing 0.1%, which sometimes you do not have to, you do not make any money from transactions because you still have to bounce trades through third-party liquidity providers sometimes, right? So sometimes trades could be fueled within the exchange. Sometimes you have to still bounce. Let me give an open secret here, right?
Yeah.
All the big exchanges have an account with themselves. Let me just keep that up with it. All the
Hmm.
exchanges have an account with the other exchanges. So when you go deep into the
That
exchange space,
means
you know Coinbase has an account on Binance. Binance has an account on Coinbase.
oh, okay, I see what you're
You
saying.
understand? You understand? So which means we're going the way the banks do because the big banks also or the banks have that space, right? Because liquidity is usually for you to make to be competitive in terms of liquidity, you have to work with other exchanges. You cannot leave as an island, right? So and it makes pricing more efficient for the user. It makes it more competitive, a bit harder for the exchange, but it makes it more competitive for the user. And when the user is satisfied, you are satisfied. You understand? So
Right.
yes. So as an exchange, of course, apart from the trade fees, you have to look for other ways to make money in terms of deposits, right? The fiat deposits. Um,
So
um, um,
getting interest on the fiat on the fiat
Yeah,
yeah,
custody, right? Things
yeah.
like, yeah, of course, even things like staking and all that. So you just have to squeeze out revenue from every single point, right? And that's how exchanges usually stay afloat, right? It's not easy, right? Because when you scale, um, sometimes it's better to have in terms of the technology part, right? It's better to have now in terms of the user base attraction. It's better to have 1,000 users than one user, but sometimes it's better to have one user doing $100,000 than 1,000 users doing $100, right? Because you need more infrastructure to host those 1,000 users doing $100 than if you know what I mean. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, but still, it's one of the challenges. And with time, we got to this, and one of the ways we're able to also survive and build and move on is through partnerships.
Okay.
We did a lot of partnerships, right? We had a partnership with Dash. We had partnerships with the Ethereum Foundation. We had partnerships with Zago. We had um, we had partnerships with media houses. So that meant that we didn't have to pay for a lot of exposure, if you know what I mean, right?
Oh yeah.
So you had what you had. It was like a win-win situation. And NaijaCrypto, we have although we want to change that, right? We have the least amount of money has been spent in marketing, right? And that has made our cost per user acquisition to be about 0.2 cents, which is really, really, really competitive in the industry, right? So like it's what we believe going forward. We are, of course, we have to back it because sometimes we have people like, oh my god, like I love your exchange. Where have you guys been? We've been there. I didn't know you. Like, where have you been? Like,
Love it.
where have you been all my life? Things like that. So we're like, nah, you didn't know me. So, but of course, some people take people have different business models, right? Some people take the route of marketing, getting the market before building, right? Some people take the route of building before marketing. Building is a fun process for me. It's not just about the business and making money. You understand? It's a fun process for me. It's a fun process for me to create solutions, to make sure that, okay, to manage the solutions, to manage the financial aspect of things is very like is more or less like enjoying the process, if you know what I mean. So yes, we intend to do more of marketing eventually, but the building process has been awesome. Let me just put it out there. So so
So
you
so
understand?
no, it's all good, man. Last question. I know we are like over time.
Time, yeah.
Thank you guys for hanging in. Thank you very look, but when certain topics like this, let's like I know we're gonna. I already had in my mind we're gonna blow over time. It's cool, but it's just wanting to dive in because I'm enjoying the conversation and it's also inspiring actually. Question. So, what's the future looking like? Started in 2019, 2021. You made it past out of the pandemic. You guys are around, still standing. You've expanded, you automated, you brought in third party partners, like you said, custodial services to really aid to make it a more safer experience for your users. What's next?
Wow. Like I can talk about this for 10 hours. I can answer this question for 10 hours. Yes, so NaijaCrypto, the future is looking really, really bright. We have so much. We're working on so many things, right? First of all, on the expansionary side, right? We are currently trying to expand. We've changed our global. We now have a presence in the United States. We're about having a presence in the UK and in Switzerland. When I say presence, I don't mean an operational presence. We're not yet operating, but sort of like we have a business presence in the United States. Let's have that out there first. And believe me, you're gonna see something happening within the coming years with Magic Crypto in the United States. It's gonna happen, right? So we're also trying to expand into Latin America, as I've said a lot of times. We started with Haiti as our pilot phase. We're trying to do Jamaica. We're trying to do um, hopefully someday El Salvador because they seem like they're doing a lot over there in terms of Bitcoin, right? So
Oh my God! Yeah, we
yeah,
talked about that and what their president is doing, and it passed through their government in terms of making Bitcoin a legal tender now.
legal
Yeah,
tender, yes.
it I would love to even have a conversation about like some of that government to just really break down what's going on. So
Of
that's
course,
pretty awesome.
of
So
course. So
as
so
yeah,
so basically is we're building a lot. So just want to put it out there, right? I've talked a lot about tokenization of traditional assets, tokenization of traditional securities, real estate, and things like that, right? Niger Crypto, we are working on a blockchain, a smart contract enabled blockchain that would enable tokenization of traditional assets. and bring it onto a liquid exchange, right? And make it easily tradable. So we're going to start this pilot process with some real estate assets in Africa here, right? And eventually we're going to scale up. So just watch out for that. You will be seeing this by the second quarter of 2022, right? And this is the first stage in a plan to create a parallel financial market in Africa, right? That is actually financial inclusive, because a lot of people cannot, like when I was a student, like if I had 10,000 naira, which is $50, $10, right? No, which is like $20, right? How do I gain exposure to the to how can I buy real estate with that? Like, and real estate appreciates in 5 years, doubles its value in 5 years. I never had access to such investment tools, right? But today, a student with 5,000 naira, less than $10, right, if we tokenize these assets, could have exposure to these assets. So even when the assets triple in value, they have exposure. You can build savings account in assets, in traditional assets, without having to buy a full real estate. You understand? Without having to buy a full real estate, and blockchain is going to do this for them. And NaijaCrypto wants to be ahead of the curve in doing this in Africa. So this is the future of NaijaCrypto. We are going to make sure that the financial system is inclusive for Africa and the rest of the world eventually. But we're starting from our home ground, Africa. So that is it.
Um, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Me and you obviously have to talk offline and just continue building. Yeah, man, awesome stuff that you're doing. I love and I mean, it even, I mean, when you, and I was thinking about that too. I mean, when you start looking at that use case in terms of
Mhm.
tokenizing assets like real estate, ideally that's like an NFT, right? So every real estate parcel is unique in its own sense. So,
Yeah.
so then it's like, okay, now can we break down, like, so like if for instance, you're selling a token for hypothetically $1 million. Maybe there's
Yeah.
not one person who could buy it for 1 million, but maybe there is 100,000 people that can
Yes.
buy it for, but put a little piece of it. Now, if that million asset turns into 10 million one day, they just 10x their investment, no matter what that is. So, yeah, man, really interesting stuff. I mean, things. Look, I'll be sending you emails and talking to you. It's like it's just, I love where things are going. I absolutely. That's why I keep. I like your expertise in general. When we have these blockchain discussions, love bringing you in to talk about it. But I really enjoyed jumping into
Mhm.
NaijaCrypto, and when people look at this video again, I mean, just really understand some of the key lesson I think from this is the whole idea of a functional minimal viable product. And it doesn't, like, as long as you have a front facing that your customers or clients can use, they don't, they could be shielded from the back end just as long as it's safe, right? The only time they worry about it is when something goes wrong. But if nothing's going wrong, no one really cares if it's automated or not. It's just as long as it's functional and it's working, and it's a better solution than they had prior.
Yeah. Of
um
course. Of
Totally
course.
enjoyed the conversation. This is one of the videos I'm gonna actually play back certain aspects, because literally, man, it was just it's a great story, totally inspiring, and I love it.
That's a good one. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Nnamdi, right?
Always.
That's why I always want to come back and have
Look,
an amazing Friday evening on your show.
you already know, man. You are a friend of the show, and sometimes when something big happens in the crypto blockchain world, you're like one of the first people I hit up and say, "Look, I want to let's talk about this. Let's break this down." Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I would love to actually really, like you said, maybe we even have like a panel one day, like going into I want to get into the decentralized. Is how's that built? That smart contract is structured. Like, how is it ordered? What's the process? Maybe we like have a panel discussion or something. Bring some people on, and we just chop it up and talk about it. That'll be interesting.
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
All right. Well,
Sure.
listen. As always, listen. Enjoy your weekend, and thanks again to our people viewing this now and in the future. Thank you for viewing this show, the Tech Behind FinTech. We go live every Friday, 12 p.m. EST. So join us and check us out. We have really interesting shows coming up. So stay tuned, and we're going to be launching our website soon. So you can submit your email addresses, and we'll contact you. It's going to be the techbehindfintech.com. It's not launched right now. It's coming soon. So that's a new development. We'll be starting soon. Following Chiagozie's path for a year, we've been operating and no website, but we can still do it. And then we're gonna start adding the bells and the whistles later on.
It's
So
amazing.
I absolutely love it, guy. All right. Well, once again, thank you very much for your time, Chiagozie. Also, last but not least, how can people get in contact with you?
Okay, of course, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Chiagozie Iwu, on Facebook, facebook.com/Chiagozie606. You can also reach out on the NaijaCrypto Twitter, real NaijaCrypto too, or you can come to the NaijaCrypto website, NaijaCrypto.com, and to use our services, of course, or download the NaijaCrypto app on Play Store and iOS. We have launched new apps recently. I think that was like a month ago on the Play Store and on the App Store also. And yes, so that's just basically it.
Now, sounds good. All right, everyone. You guys take care. I'm gonna bring you offline, but stay around, Chigo, so we could just talk for a second.
Definitely.